So, good morning, all. Now, today we will be starting the last module, the module 5, right? So, the module 5 relates to how you are to program. So far, you are discussing about IoT, right? Its security issues, its data, if huge data is being collected, how to manage the data, right? Which are the software that we use to manage that huge data, how we analyze using the data analytics concept. Then what are the protocols that are being used for sending the packets generated by the endpoint IoT. All those things we studied, right? But now we are coming actually to the core, the last module. Whether most of them have been exposed or not, I don't know. But still, it may be new also for you because you are not studied in your classes in the 4th semester. So we will be studying about the Arduino Uno board, which will be acting as a converter of your sensor devices. Now, sensors may be anything that you have got, maybe a pressure sensor, maybe a temperature sensor, maybe the emulator or whatever it is that you receives the data, which is a physical data in the form of electrical signal, and then converting it to a data and connecting it to the device, which now is capable of transferring through the internet. So that is very much required. So two basic processors that will be more generally used by everybody for your sensors to be connected to a microcontroller or a microprocessor, which is capable of converting your analog signal, filtering the noises, then into the digital data, and then transfer it to the higher end, right? Data link layer, network layer, and all to be sent to the remote server or to the destination where it has to go. So we need one device, right? So we have got, this is what is called as Arduino Uno, will be the more popular interfacing device that they use to convert the analog signals into the digital data, or when the server commands to the sensor, it receives from the network the digital data, convey into analog data, and convey it to the controller that we have got at the endpoint. So the Arduino is very, very important. We will be discussing here about the Arduino Uno, right? So according to a syllabus, we will be having the introduction to Arduino Uno, then its pin boards, pin-ups, and why it is being used, how you are able to program it, and a few examples that I'll be showing you. And then another popular, the microcontroller that is also popular in the embedded system programming is a Raspberry Pi, right? So these two are there in your syllabus, and in today's class, I'll be discussing the introduction to Arduino, its programming concepts, and then installing the software, how do you use IDE, and same thing with respect to the Raspberry Pi also. So let us start with Arduino Uno, right? Arduino Uno, why it is so popular? No? Everybody says about Arduino Uno because nowadays the IoT is not a proprietary of any company or anybody. Anybody can design their own system, right? To have your daily activities to be recorded, right? So whether it is the temperature in your room or the temperature in your house or your AC or your what you can say that refrigerator operations, right? Whatever. You may be wondering that you can design your own system to see. You are so busy, right? You don't know what is there inside your refrigerator. So you need to procure the grocery outside when you are coming from your duty. In that case, using this IoT concept, right, you can now check in what are the grocery stock available inside your refrigerator. No, that is due to your IoT, right? You can design on your own. So a board is very much required, because you see that before this Arduino was coming, there was different microcontrollers available. Intel had 8051, right? Other designers, they had their own microcontroller. Microprogrammable circuit board. It contains a microcontroller, and it has got all other necessary devices, right? So which can be programmed to sense and control objects, right? Means it can receive the data from the sensors, and then it can also send the control information to the endpoint IoT devices. And it can also now respond to the various inputs received from the sensors. It can be able to interact with the large array of LED devices, the motors, if you can say the motors means of any type, and the displays. And the another popularity of the Arduino open source programmable device is, the Arduino is, why it is popular is, see that in 1990s we got the 8051 microcontroller introduced by the Intel. No, the people are using it in their embedded systems. But why the Arduino becomes very popular for IoT is, the 8051 microcontroller by Intel was proprietary based. There was no much flexibility, and then it was costlier. But this Arduino, is low cost device, and it is flexible also, and it has become very popular because of its interoperability, right? It can be used for any environment. And then when it was invented, so even though in 1990s onwards the Intel's microcontroller is available, this Arduino was introduced in 2005 in the Italy by a scientist called as Misomi Banzi, right? He's an engineer. He thought of, when the IoT becoming very, very popular, the people are searching for a very flexible, low cost, open source device. So he developed this particular Arduino Uno, right? After that, we are having the various, clones are available, various variations are available, various its memory capacities, right? When you say microcontroller, as you know, it should work like a computer, right? So you got your desktops. You think over how much huge it is. It is able to communicate with you. It is able to be programmed in any language that you want, right? You can store the data. You can store the program. You can run the program, right? You can view it back. You can sort the data, everything that you are doing in your computer. But this computer is so huge, right? But in the end point where you install your IoT devices, you cannot have your this computer system to be installed along with the IoT device, right? So we'll have so many problems of the weight, the cost, then the power and everything. So we need to have a minute device, right? A minute device means in that particular device you should have everything, right? Everything means what your computer now is having the other devices which is able to process your data. Similarly, the microcontroller also should have, but it should be as much as possible that is required to connect your sensor, able to provide the power to the sensor, then receive the data sent by the sensor in the form of analog, convert into digital, then process it, store it if it is required, then filter it, whatever that is required at the end point to be done, and then convert into a packet and send to the upper layer. All these things should be done by your microcontroller. So then microcontroller, what you're using, should have a PROM. You should have a flash memory to make the program to run very faster. And you should have a capability of interrupts. You should have the capability of adjusting to the speed of the IoT devices, right? And the pattern in which the IO devices sends the data, it must be able to sense them, right? All this are put into one chip, but everything is in minimum, right? How much is required to process for that particular data, it is available, right? So it is minute in nature, very lightweight. That is what is required. Your Arduino provides that particular thing. So since it is an open source, many compatible clones are available, variations are available in the market, but the original license always comes with an Arduino name, right? So let us come back to its architecture. The Arduino board is made up of a microcontroller with so many connecting devices in this. And then, since it's a small chip, right? Small chip which can hold on your palm, how to program it, how to interface it, right? Now you see that in your laptop, I'm able to see the screen. I'm able to see what I'm programming. I'm able to see what the error that comes. But how to program the chip, right? How do you know what is happening inside the chip, right? So you need to connect this particular initially before you install it on the remote device, remote end with an IoT device. You need to program it. Suppose what is the programming that you need to do? Suppose if it is a temperature sensor, you need to have a temperature monitoring device you want at the end. So what you need? You need to have a temperature sensor. Then you need to program that particular chip to receive that analog signal. And you have to calibrate the device. If the analog signal is so much, the temperature should be this much. If the temperature is this much, how it should be converted to digital. And if the temperature sensor is sending the data in a different form, maybe in a asynchronous form or a synchronous form, or it may be in a linear voltage or whatever it is, or a digital voltage, your Arduino must be able to program it. Who will program it? Because you don't have a screen, you don't have a keyboard with that. So initially, you should connect that particular board with a sensor to your computer and program it. So to talk, your computer to talk to that particular IDE, to that embedded system, you want some intermediate software to be installed in your computer, So that software that we use is called as IDE, Integrated Development Environment software to be installed. So that you can talk to the device through your computer, through your IDE, program it properly based on your requirement, then convert that particular into the binary codes. The whole program is now programmed in your system in your comfortable zone. Comfortable zone means you can program using IDE, either using C, C++ or anything. And since it is an open source, it can run on your IDE, can run on any OS, right? It is so much comfortable. So you can test your embedded system, which is going to be installed on a remote place. Then after that, when you are show that it is working fine, then download that particular, the whole code into the microcontroller, then disconnect your board, right? Disconnect your board, and it's only a small chip of your palm type with a sensor will be there. You can go and install, and it can be supported with a battery also to have the life, right? The system runs with a battery, right? But how do you connect your board when you are programming? You can connect through the USB, right? USB cable you can do. That's how we can program it. Now, let us see that why the Arduino is popular. Arduino is so popular because of that it is easy and wallet, cheaper, and any operating system it can work on. And then if you are a beginner, you can get started with the programming is so simple because it's a simple C or C++ programming you can use to program it. And internally, your IDE will convert the commands that you can send is only through the IDE in C commands. So what is that IDE will do is your C commands, it will convert into the object codes, send it to the device, run the device, and you can observe that how it is behaving, the sensor is behaving, the device is behaving. If it is not working properly, come back, change the code, everything that can do in your comfort zone. That is the advantage. So it is very easy to start with. Programming, it is very easy. And the advantage of the Arduino is it is an open source. IDE is available, right? open in the you Google it, you will get IDE. You can download on your own. You can work with any language that you are comfortable. You can solve any complex problems. That is the advantage of your Arduino. Arduino has got many versions, but out of that, the more popular version is your Arduino Uno, right? So this is the Arduino Uno board. In your screen, that it is looking to be too big, but it is not too big. It is a very miniature in size, very small in size. And here is the devices that you got. I will explain that what are the devices that you got inside. And if you want to connect your IoT devices, you can now connect through these connectors, right? These are the connectors available at the edge. These are the connectors available at the edge, which can connect any type of devices. You can connect the motors, you can connect the sensors, you can connect the LEDs, whatnot. Any IoT device that you want to control it, you can connect it, right? So I will explain it in detail here. You see that this is where you have to program, right? This is a microcontroller, right? And in the Arduino, you know, they are using Atmega microcontroller. And this is through this USB, you can communicate. This particular whole board can communicate with your computer. Computer means the IDE. It can communicate with the IDE. And then this is actually powered through this USB only, because from your computer the voltage will come and it is going to be powering this whole board. But this powering is not sufficient, because it is also giving the powers through these jacks to the IoT devices that you are going to connect here, because they will not have the power, their own power. The power will come to the device, and this same power is used by your IoT devices. So this IoT, suppose you are connecting a motor will draw the current in terms of amps, 1 amps, 2 amps. But this is USB is able to support only some in the form of milliamperes, so that this board will work, because your chips will take the currents only in the form of milliamperes. Then when this chip is supposed to support a motor, then the current should be very high. So if that is the case, you can power this particular device through the external input source, right? The external input source that you can do. And here, any voltage between 7 to 12 volts DC input you can provide here through the jack. And why the 7 to 12 volts? Because the device, the IoT devices that you are using over here to connect the system varies. Some devices work with 3.3 volts, some devices work with 5 volts, some devices work with 9 volts, some devices work with 12 volts, based on for what application you are using this particular board and what interfaces that you are going to connect here. You can provide this particular voltage over here. So that means this is capable of running between 7 to, the chip is also capable of running between 7 to 12 volts. That is the advantage. It's based on the requirement. You can power this device with this externally, right? And this part, what you see is a regulator, because directly when you give from an external input, right, it has got so many noises, it may spoil this chip, because all these chips are very sensitive in nature. And that too, you are going to install it in a remote place. You want it to work without any hassles, right? So the voltage that is coming inside is regulated here. It's a regulator, and this regulator generates the required voltage that is required over here. And look at here, these are the power pins, and the power pins is this particular chip taking the voltage from this regulator is going to generate 3.3 volts, because most of the IoT devices works with 3.3 volts. All communication devices, IoT communication devices works with 3.3. It is their standard. But some devices may work with 5 volt. So that's why 5 volt pin is also given. So if you got a IoT device which needs 3.3 volts, you can connect it to 3.3 volts. Or if you want to have the 5 volts, you can connect it to 5 volts. And then there are so many grounds are given. See, totally the grounds that is given, multiple grounds are given here. I am showing here 2 ground points. Multiple ground points will be there, because if you give a common ground point to connect all the IoT devices to this, because this to this microcontroller, you can have the multiple slaves. multiple sensors you can connect it, multiple endpoint devices you can connect to this. It has got a capability to support around 10-15 IoT devices. One microcontroller can do. So what this microcontroller is, it receives the data from all IoT devices which are placed on the endpoint, and then it is able to process them, convert them into a packet, and then send to on the wireless communication to a remote server. So when you are connecting so many devices over here, and if the common ground is there, then automatically that particular ground is going to sink a heavy current, and it may burn out. To avoid that thing, the ground is spread across. You've got two grounds over here, some more grounds are also there. And these are the pins that is given here. You look at here, there are totally around 3 plus 3, 6 analog input pins are there. That means you can connect here 6 sensor devices which are sending the data in the analog form to this chip. It will process the data one by one. It has got its own capability dependent upon your programming structure. Then when you come to over here, you can directly connect it. Suppose if this USB interface is not working, right? It is not sufficient for you. You can also through that jack pins, you can connect the USB interface. That means your computer can also be connected to this. Or some of the IoT devices has got a USB connectivity. Then you can directly plug in over here, right? And this is what is called as, you are observing here, I2C. I2C is nothing but IIC. IIC is a protocol, inter-integrated environment protocol, right? So this is a different protocol where several slaves can be connected to this particular point, and their protocol is entirely different. A protocol in the sense, the data link protocol. In the data link protocol, the packet size should be this much, the data should be like this. So in such a IoT devices which works with I2C protocol, they can be connected to these pins, because here this particular environment can also understand that I2C protocol. So any IoT devices which is working with I2C protocol, they can be connected over here. So they send the data, and this data will be processed in the microcontroller, right? And then some of the devices that you connect to the microcontroller may be a serial programmable interfaces. They will send the data serially, right? Bit by bit they send the data. In that particular case, not only one device of such sort may be there. It must be able to provide different slaves. That's why you see that it is written as yes. Yes means it is the slave. This particular whole board is a master, and you can connect multiple slaves here. Here, 2 slaves you can connect it, right? So this is the possibility that multiple slaves can be connected if they are sending the data in the form of serial programmable interface concept. And some other devices need to be interrupted, right? So the interrupt is also there here. And you want the board to be reset, right? So there is a reset button. You can make it to restart. You can give the external VCC connections over here. Everything is provided here. So this is a completely. And some of the IoT devices will now send the data in the form of a universal asynchronous pattern. There is a concept called as, that some of the devices will be called as a UART devices, right? Universal asynchronous receiver transmission devices. Those devices, if they want to be connected to this microcontroller, you got here. These are the transmitter LED, and this is the receiver LED. And through this, and these are the points. This is the transmission point. You want to send the data using UART mode. You can send through this to the IoT device. And if that IoT device is sending the data in the UART mode, you can receive through this. And this chip is capable of receiving it. Now, this is such a very formidable, capable of running at a different protocol, capable of supporting different devices with a different category of operations. This board is capable of doing it. Now, this is the one that is being shown with points here. One is a reset button, right? 2 is an analog reference input. You can give the reference input here. To that particular reference input, the whole board will operate. Suppose you want the board to operate at 5 volts, give the 5 volts reference here. It works with 5 volts because you are giving here DC input from 7 to 12 volts. You want this particular whole board to work with 10 volts. Give the 10 volts reference. Then taking that reference, the board works with the reference voltage that you are giving over here. This is the ground, right? And this 4 means that you shown here, 13, 12, 11, everything up to this. They are called as digital I/O pins. Digital I/O pins means some of your IoT devices are able to understand the digital signals, 1 and a 0. Like for example, LED. If you connect LED, it's sufficient to work with 1 and a 0, right? And if you connect a stepper motor, no problem, they work with, right? You are done in your 4th semester how to run a stepper motor. So if you give 8-bit digital input, that will go to that stepper motor will operate, right? So when some of the devices that you connect to this microcontroller are the digital devices, these are the digital I/O pins available. Digital I/O pins in the sense, these pins can be output, they can be input based on that. If you connect now LED and motor, you have to drive them. So then these pins can be programmed as output ports. Suppose you want to receive a data from an ADC. So it has sensed the temperature, and the temperature is to be converted to digital, and the digital data is to be sampled here. In that particular case, it can be taken as a digital input. You can program it as way that you like, right? And this is, as you have seen, that the number 6 is the USB connector, and the 7th one is the LEDs used to indicate that the chip is working in the UART mode, right? And then this is 8 is your Atmega microcontroller, right? And the whole board is called as Arduino, and this Arduino board is using the Atmega microcontroller, okay? And this is the number 9 is a LED showing that whether your whole board is powered up, working properly or not. That is what that indicates. The 10 is a regulator, the power regulator, which receives that unregulated DC power and converts into regulated DC power and feeds all the connected devices which are inside here. And this is the external jack provided to give the external DC input. And this is 12, 13, 14 are the power input lines, output lines that can tap them and give it to IoT devices. These are the analog input devices. Now, this is the overview of the board, right? That's why we say that this board is so powerful, right? Let's see, these are the pins that I explained you one by one, and look at its specifications. The microcontroller that used is Atmega processor, and the input voltage it can operate between. The input that it can give is 7 to 12 volts, but it can operate between 6 to 20. That means even though if you give 7 volts, the Atmega will not spoil, but beyond 7 volts, I think it may be spoiled. This is the range of operations that is being given, right? And it has got 14 digital I/O pins. Out of them, 6 are used for, can be used for analog also. Or if you want to use all of them into digital, you can use them, right? And then you see that its power capacity is up to 50 volts. And as I told you, in that microcontroller, everything is provided. The flash memory is up to 32 kilobytes. That is more than sufficient to program a dedicated IoT device, right? So, and then after that, 0.5 KB is as a bootloader. Bootloader means you have to switch on your system in the beginning, right? It has to boot. It has to initialize all the chips. That is, as soon as power on, it has to initialize all the chips. That bootloader just consumes 0.5 KB. Then the SRAM means when the data is coming inside, it has to be stored inside. 2 KB is given here unless it is passed on to the network. EEPROM is required to store its complete operational operating system to be installed inside that. And its clock speed, it is more than sufficient. It works at 16 megahertz. You see that its weight is just 25 grams, as I said, and it's so miniaturized, right? Just 6 centimeters length. And then, as I told you, coming to the power supply, you can power it with any voltage based on your endpoint IoT device is operating with which voltage, right? And then you see that I told you 3.3 volts, why it is standard is, this is where most of the IoT devices operates. That's why it is designed for 3.3 volts exactly, right? And if you come to the pin diagram of Arduino Uno, the Arduino Uno pin diagram, you need to know, because in the next class, when you are studying about programming, you must be aware about what are the pins that are being used here, right? As I told you, the first pin will be the reset pin. And look at here, these two are the pins that can be used as you can program it different modes. See that when you want it all the pins to receive, I told you there are 14 digital input output pins, Suppose you want to use this whole chip to receive only the 14 pin digital inputs. You program this pitch such a way that it works only in the digital mode. Then in all these cases, these pins will work as digital pins. This 08 bit first, you see that up to 14 pins will come here. Suppose you don't have the more digital pins, like you are driving a stepper motor, 8 bit is sufficient to drive a stepper motor, and you want to connect some other device. The device works with a UART mode. In those cases, you can connect that particular device over here. You can send UART data through this. It is a transmitter. It works as a transmitter, and this point works as a receiver. It receives the UART signals through this, and then it will be processed, right? You can program it in any way that you want. And these two pins, you can either use it as analog or digital, and sometimes you can use it as an interrupt also, right? If you want to use them as interrupt, you have to program the chip into the interrupt mode, right? That's so. And you see that this is the VCC point, and the ground points are 2, right? They are provided to avoid the burning of the chip. And when you say a microcontroller or a microprocessor, it is a sequential chip, right? It has to work sequentially, right? So it is something like that. Now we are sequential. We get up in the morning, get ready, come here, sit. We do the job one after the other. These chips are also supposed to do the job one after the other, So then they are working sequentially. They need to driven by a clock. The clock will be the reference to them. First clock pulse what to do, second clock pulse what to do, everything. They have to do it according to the time that you fix. That is done by this crystal. You have to connect a crystal. So the inside there is a crystal oscillator. It dictates how fast this chip should do the operation. And look at here, these 2 points, we call it as a PWM, pulse width modulation. Pulse width modulation means these pins can also be used to send logical 1, logical 0. Permanently, the pin can be put at logical 1. Permanently, this pin can be put at logical 0. But this pin also can be used to send a square wave. Pulse width modulation means what? The pulse width. The logical 1, we want it at 1 millisecond. Logical 0, you want only at 0.5 millisecond. You can program this chip to generate a square wave of the required high and required low timings. So it is also possible here, right? Because some of your IoT devices need to be driven by some clock, right? So these 2 pins will work as a clock generator for the IoT device. They can also work as taking the digital input. You program it based on the mode it will work, right? That's how you can see here. And then I told you in the beginning that this pins, carefully you see that we use here SCK, MISO, MOSI, and SS. These 4 pins are used to make your device to operate in SPI mode. SPI means the serial programmable mode. When some of the slaves sends the data or receive the data from this microcontroller in the form of a serial data, in that particular case, we can connect these devices into this particular pins. This is the serial clock, slave clock. We call it as SCK, means slave clock. Slave clock output will come and that clock will be connected over here. And the slave is telling that this is my speed. right? And to that particular seed, your processor will adjust. And this MISO means master in, slave out, right? Master in, slave out means slave is sending the data. If the slave is sending the data, this point we connect it here. So your microcontroller is a master, it receiving the data. That's why it is called as a master in. Slave out, slave is sending the data. Suppose some of the IoT devices you need to send the control signals. Then in that case, the slave will become an in. Slave is receiving, so it acts as a in, but your master is sending, it acts as a master. So you can connect now this particular MOSI, master out, slave in. Means through this pin you can send the data to the IoT devices to control them. Through this pin you can receive the data from the slave to the master. Now that is what is its operation. These are the points that as I explained. And then I told you that most of the IoT devices are analog devices, right? They send the data in analog form. That's why they are the ADC points, analog to digital converter points. That means to this point, if you give any analog signal inside the chip, convert into digital, maybe 8-bit data or 16-bit data, it will convert it and send it to the next device for processing. That's why you see that they are called as analog devices. This is about the chip explanation. So that means basically now what you should remember is there are different types of IoT devices that we use in the real world. Some may work with the UART mode. You can connect them to the UART points. Some will work with the digital data, logical 1 and 0, you can connect them. This chip is capable of communicating with the digital devices. And some of the devices will have a varied voltage operations. So there is a reference that you can give it over here and make your whole system work with to the reference voltage in which your IoT device is working, which can vary between 7 to 12 volts, right? And then some of the devices work with only 3.3 volts standard. Now you can tap the 3.3 volts. This generator will generate 3.3 volts. You can use it to drive those devices, right? And some of the devices will send the data in the form of analog. So your device must be capable of converting the analog data into the digital data. So you got so many analogs. Means I can connect here up to 5 slaves, which is able to send the analog input to this particular device. And it is so powerful. Miniaturized, if you look at the advantage, it is miniature, easy to program it, easy to install, consumption of power is less. So many advantages it has got, right? And some of the applications which the Arduino projects, I'm just pressing it here, taken it from the YouTube or the Google it. You see, this is a microcontroller. Normally, you have to use your breadboard because very few connections will be there, right? And here you see that this is a Arduino light following robot, right? There is a light sensor here. Wherever the light shows the path, it follows. And this is board is installed on inside. On the below side, you can see stepper motors are there. These wheels are driven by the stepper motor. And sending the commands to the stepper motor is through this cable. See, they are, from this, they are coming over here. And then they are connected to the stepper motor inside. The commands will come here. See, from the device, the commands is coming here, right? And then you want some extra power, you can give extra power to this, some of the LEDs here, which is connected over here. This extra power is given through this particular battery backup here. Now it is on its own self. So only thing is when you want to design any Arduino projects, only thing is you need to have Arduino board, some connectors, some breadboard with few resistors, LEDs and all. Your project is done, right? You see that it doesn't have a console, it doesn't have a keyboard, everything is programmed inside. How to make this particular motors to work so that this robot will move. Already it's programmed and stored. This is one. This is one drone that is shown over here. And this is the another device which is able to work as a relay, right? And that's how. So now how it is to be programmed. As I told you, you have to connect your, if you want to program this microcontroller, you have to connect it to the computer through this jack USB, right? And in your system, you have to install your Arduino software package that is called as IDE, right? IDE will become an interface to you, right? So once you click on download and work on the IDE, it will open up and it is able to understand the languages of the microcontroller, and you can program using C. And there are two types of IDEs you can work with. You can directly work with online IDE, means you need not have to download, right? So you can connect it to online web editor, program everything, then send it to the microcontroller, burn it. That's over. Or you can download the desktop IDE. You can download whole Arduino IDE onto your microcontroller, disconnect the internet, to your system, disconnect the internet, then you can program it using your desktop IDE. Two-way you can operate it, right? So that is the advantage. And the advantage if your IDE is, the Arduino IDE can be downloaded and work on any OS. Look at here, it can work on Linux, it can work on Windows, it can work on Mac, right? Chrome OS. That is the advantage. So how to install it? As I told you initially, you need to download the IDE to your system, connect to the USB to your microcontroller, and the microcontroller also should have the necessary IoT connected to it. Then program it. And initially when you connect it, you want to know, whether your Arduino board is working or not. So connect one LED through the breadboard, program it such a way that through that digital IO pin, you program it such a way that send 1 to that particular pin. If the LED is on, means your Arduino is responding to your command. Make sure that it works. If it is blinking, then it is working. It is receiving your commands. Then you go for completely write a new code, right? The new codes that you write to download to the microcontroller is called as a sketch. Arduino sketch, they normally they call it. And the programming of Arduino in the IDE has got 5 parts. It needs to be an header, similar to your C language. And then it needs to have a variables to be defined. Then the initial conditions to be set. Then you need to have a loop here. See, in programming, you write a program which runs from top to bottom over. You will have a result. They are the static results. Since this is a microcontroller, should be able to run your IoT devices. So you should go into a loop routine. So the loop should be there. Okay, it goes into the loop. One small example that I have written, right? And how to boot your system, make the system to be ready is the function that is used is setup, right? In this setup, you have to initialize all the pins that you want to operate on your microcontroller. In this particular case, I'm just driving one LED on and off, right? So with certain delay. So the pin mode, I'm now indicating which pin it is. DAO pin. You have seen in the diagram, we have got so many DAO pins. Suppose I want to have this particular DAO pin 0 to be connected to LED and it should be on and off. So now I'll choose this DAO pin 0, or I will call it as pin number 2. Now you can program it either by using the device pin number or the board pin number, right? Board pin number is digital pin number 0 and the chip number is pin number 2. You can program it any way that you want. So I will now program it as LED pin DAO pin 0. Then I will make it as output, because why I have to program it as output means it has to drive the LED. Now the LED is programmed, that pin is programmed to be output. Now I have to send logical ones and zeros, So I have to write 1 into that bit. So and the code that we'll be using is digital write, which pin it is, make it high, right? Then wait for a few seconds. Delay is 1000 counts. It will go into the loop. It is a built-in program, maybe around 1 second or maybe around 1 minute. So here it is written for 1 second, right? 1000 milliseconds. And then 1000 milliseconds it will be on. Later you have to make it 0. So that output pin you have to make it 0. So once again write it to the port, that particular pin as low. Then wait for a delay. Go back. When the program is running continuously, your LED is on and off. This is a very simple Arduino programming, you are using C, right? Similarly, any complex program you can write, programming your sensor, everything, whatever that you want, you can do it. Similarly, you have got here the Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi is much better than your Arduino, right? And this is invented by a British company. It is not a company, it is a charity trust. It is lighter than your Arduino, and it is a British built low cost computer. You see that here, there you will call it as a board, a programmable board. Here we call it as a computer. It is entirely a computer. You can build, using this Raspberry Pi, you can build a computer. Why? Because inside this computer, you got what is called as an ARM processor. Various versions of ARM processor are available. You know, the ARM is so powerful, right? It can work independently as a computer. But if you want to use it for your IoT, you can use a version of this Raspberry Pi, which is a very lightweight, and you see that the size of it is like a credit card, right? And this particular thing is developed by Raspberry Pi Foundation, and since it is once again a open source, anybody can develop it, right? And your Arduino came in the year 2005, but this has come in 2012. No, Raspberry Pi was launched in 2012, and there are so many versions are available. The starting one was available with 100 megahertz. Now we have got the advanced version Pi 3. Arduino Pi 3 is operating at 1.4 gigahertz ARM processor and 1 GB. You look at here, it is almost equivalent to one of your processor, Intel processor capability, right? So that's the reason that we say that it can work as a computer also. It itself is a computer, but a miniature computer, right? So Raspberry Pi is very cheap. It has got GPIO pins, right, that allow you to control the electronic components for the physical computing and the IoT devices, right? There are so many versions of Raspberry Pi has been introduced. The versions are Pi 1, Pi 2, and Pi 3. And all these Pi 1, Pi 2, Pi 3, they are generally released with different modes, Mode A, Model A, and Model B, right? So Model B, and also in that Model A, Model B, you got Model A plus, Model B plus, there will be little higher versions. The most basic version is Pi 0. It's a spin-off, right? It's a very small version. You can use it for small application. And the advantage of this particular Raspberry Pi, you know, it has got a Ethernet port. That particular Arduino was having only the USB port, but here it has got a Ethernet port. You can directly connect it to the LANs. And you see the different models. Initially it was introduced into 2012 with Model A. Then 2014 it was updated. Pi 1 came with B and A plus mode. Then Pi 2 came. Then Pi 3 came in 2016. Present we are using B plus. Different models are there based on your packet capacity, because these are all lower versions. This is a very high-end version, maybe a little more costlier. If you want a complex operating system, complex job to be done, go for this. Simple job, LED on and off, use this Pi 0 or Pi 1 model. Very cheap. It is hardly $5. Like that, based on your packet, you can use any Raspberry Pi that you want. Raspberry Pi also similarly looks similar to your Arduino, right? It has got the jacks, so many jacks over here. It is IO pins that you can connect here. Operations are more or less similar. It has got 2 USB ports that you can connect to a computer. It has got a Ethernet, right? So Ethernet card is there here. Ethernet connectivity is also here, right? And this is a much better system because directly can connect it to the LAN. That is the advantage. So the pin explanation that is given here, you know, these 4 which is shown in the yellow, you want to mount it, you know, he has given a mountable holes. You can mount it. They are the USB, right, which can connect it to the PCs. It is a Ethernet, right? You can connect it to directly to the LAN, right? You can have the HDMI. Means to this particular board, you can connect a console, right? You can connect a keyboard also, right? So those ports are also given. And since the memory here is limited, you can have an SD card here capability. So here, a micro SD card slot is there. You can add an extra memory over here, right? And the processor that is used here is always, you have to remember, there in the Arduino, the processor used is Atmega 328. And here, the processor used is Broadcom processors, right? The Broadcom processors you are using in your mobiles also, you know, such a powerful board is used, is developed by Broadcom, but they are all basically ARM processors. These are all ARM processors, right? And through this you can connect a camera, right? You can make it to collect the data from the camera, and then through the internet you can send it. You see, for example, you got a farmhouse in your remote area. You want to observe that whether the people are working properly, right? So you might have attended 5 people over there, whether they are working or not. You install this particular device with a camera, connect this through the LAN to your mobile, right? So one small system you connect it, then it will send the data to your mobile, right? You can see through the camera. You can switch on the camera. You can see what is happening. You can also see that is there any person is coming for theft and all. There is an advantage, right? It is a powerful. Look at here. This is the logo of Raspberry Pi. In every board you will see this. And the pin numbers, if you look at here, almost all the pin numbers functionality is same, right? They can work as the digital pins, GPIO, digital input output pins here. If you want to use ERT connections, you got transmit and receive data connections over here similar to that. Then if you want to have here the analog inputs, here the analog inputs are here, right? And then if you want to have this particular device, some devices, IoT devices, work with what is called as I2C protocol, right? Those I2C protocol, you can now connect them to this particular pins. And as I told you, some of them you can have that I2C protocol. EPROM you need to connect. You have to run the program. You know, you can connect to the EPROM SD card. This is the pin. IDSD card pins, right? So one is for the clock, SC is for the clock, this is for the data, which can send it to that ID card to program it. So means, in a nutshell, I can say both Arduino and Raspberry Pi are almost similar as far as the functionality is concerned. Means they are able to support UART devices, they are able to support SPI devices, they are able to support the digital devices, they are able to produce the pulse width modulation signals, means the square waves to operate your IO devices. They are able to receive the analog input. These two pins are used for receiving the analog inputs, right? And it has got much better capability because it has got an Ethernet card, and it has got an external SD card can be installed for a powerful operations, right? So that is the pin explanations of that what I'll explain is here, right? And how we can operate it, the input output. And look at here, the programming is also simple. So using Python, how to make the pin as output. So the pin mode, same as the pin mode what you use in Arduino. Pin number 17 is defined as output. Once you have to define it, later you have to send the data as I. Suppose if you want to program this particular chip using Python, right? Use here as the setup, right? But initially you should say that the Broadcom, no? Because since you are using Python mode, it is not operating in CPP, it is operating in Broadcom communication mode, right? .bcm you have to use. So same thing here, it is called as a GPIO.setup. It is a code in Python, right? To program that particular pin number 17 as output, then sending the output as high, right? Little different, but almost programming is almost different. Only the coding little varies. The procedure remains same.